Steve and Jill here.
Hello.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Stephen Jack Putala.
And I'm Jill DeWitt, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I talk with members Jermaine and Faith Hill, and we share, hopefully they're going to share their Land Academy experience with us. Welcome, guys.
Yes.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Jill's got a ton of questions, and so do I. We spent some time on this because it's a really unique situation with us. We just got done doing a deal with you guys.
Yep.
We did. Yay. We're excited to close before the podcast.
Is the deal closed?
Did we just get this one funded like on Monday?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. This was what.
So we got paid out, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Correct. And you guys have a check coming. Did your check arrive?
It did. We had a direct deposit. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Did it clear?
Good.
It cleared. I know. I mean, with that question, with that title company, that's a good question.
You know, it's so funny. You want to hear what happened real quick here?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
as far as Jermaine and Faith are concerned, it could not have gone better. It was like perfect textbook, how we all went into it, what they said we're going to sell it for, how it all played out. Awesome. And at the very end, this title company screwed it all up. What did they send in the wrong recording fees or something?
Yes, they did. They $40 over.
And they're hilarious. And I was telling Omar's looking at me, and poor guy, he's getting the brunt of it. I'm like, they're a professional title company. What the heck? This is what we paid them for.
Omar's our
So
deal funding guy.
it did not record the day we had thought it was going to record. It did not. We all didn't get paid out. And then we had to wait several days for the title agent who was not around. I'm like, are you kidding me? Seriously?
Well, when's the last time any of us, if ever, have had a deal close where there's just no issues at all?
Right.
Can you name a time?
I don't know.
Often it's something. It's often not. Usually it's like they ask for 18 things that we don't need, but I'm ready for that one. This one I wasn't. I'm like, are you guys kidding me?
It's very rare that you have a deal close where there's no issues at all at closing.
Yeah.
All right, let's ask a few questions and we'll
funny.
intertwine hopefully the answers with the deal that you guys just got done. I say you guys, I mean Jill and you guys.
Yeah.
So give us your backstory. Tell us where you're from and how you got to this point.
All right. Well, I guess I'll kick it off. So originally born and raised in Orlando, Florida, moved up to Virginia when I graduated college in 2011. Found a position, actually worked for Hershey as a manufacturing engineer. My background is industrial engineering. So moved up to Virginia and met my wonderful wife here. I think 3 years, 3 years later, we moved up and got married, and we moved to Richmond, Virginia. And Faith, she's born and raised in Richmond.
Virginia. And my background, I actually have a legal background. I was an attorney and I worked for a university doing compliance work. And Jermaine and I hit a point where we both realized that if we continued to move up in our careers, that we weren't going to have much time for each other. And that was not very attractive being a newlywed. So this is when we started thinking, okay, what are some ways that we can potentially continue to increase our income, but not increase our time into working for someone else? And then that's when Jermaine and his engineering brain started searching for ways to get into real estate.
Yeah. So, we got into real estate. Actually, we had this grand theme idea to just kind of go into residential buy and hold. That was originally how it started. So we went we drove around in the Richmond area trying to buy our first investment property or looking to purchase our first investment property. We went to a bank. The bank then told us no, because your debt to income ratio at the time, and then my credit score was not the greatest at that time, and they said no. And so we tried. So I did some research, got back home. We hit a roadblock there, and I said, okay, how can we still get into real estate? Came across residential wholesaling, and so I did that for almost about a year, and we've done about 10 deals before we came across land. And so I came across a webinar through another kind of educational individual out there in the land investing space. And they talked about how you can also cash flow from land. And that really excited me. And I told my wife, I said, well, we got to go from residential to now let's pivot our entire business model and go into land, because this is exactly what I'm looking for. I think it's going to help us as far as the lifestyle that we're trying to build, because you're able to do a lot of the deals, if not most or all the deals, virtually.
Right.
And so I found you guys, found Land Academy, and signed up for it.
We
And
got a big pack of CDs that
Yeah.
came in the mail. And we sat down in front of the TV and popped those DVDs in and just started going through them one by one.
yeah. And so now we're 80 plus transactions later. You know, we've been doing it almost 4 years now, and here we are.
Yay.
I should tell the listeners, viewers, that we stopped sending DVDs like over 2 years ago,
I know,
but
it's great.
I still see them laying around the office every once in a while.
We have
like
a few.
packaging. One of them's in
Yeah.
a frame.
Yeah. That's now a collector's item.
Yeah.
I know, we've been holding on to ours just in case.
Just
you
in
know.
case.
When
That
we
was,
see you,
that
we'll
was,
have
that
to
was
get
popping
your
the
signature.
doggy door open right behind you there.
Or holding it closed or something.
Right.
Yeah. So that was our journey in getting into land. So,
I'm so
but
glad.
yeah, that's how we got here.
You guys remember your first land deal?
That's good.
That's a good question, Steve. So the actual first land deal, I talked about when we got first into residential wholesaling. My first deal under contract was actually a land deal.
Oh.
Because one of the owners got one of our letters, and it was for a house though. And he said, this is a house that we're not looking to sell, but I do have land that I want to sell. And I'm like, land? What can I do with land? So I called up. So I said, okay, well, let me try to see if I can do something with it. And so I put it out there, marketed it, and then I actually found a builder. A builder came out there, and we went out to the property. And to this day, I'm still, really cool with them, really close with them. I've wholesaled quite a few deals with them. We went out there to the land, and he kind of showed me, what to look for, how to value it. And he really taught me a lot. And then he decided to pass on it because of the soil issues. So it would have been tough getting the land to perk in that in that area. So he passed on it. But that was our first deal that we got under contract. Our first deal after that, that we actually wholesaled, was a property we got also in that same area. Sent some letters out, and it was actually, I think it was the same mailer to the residential owners. But anyways, they had a land that they wanted to get rid of too as well. We put it under contract. I found another builder, and he was excited about it, and he decided to do it. So we just pretty much did like a regular, residential wholesale type of transaction where we assigned the contract to him, and there was a $5,000 spread on it. That was our first actual land transaction.
That's great.
Was it easy?
Yep.
Like you must have sparked something for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, I mean, we liked land because we found that we prefer not to deal with people tenants.
Yep.
And we did have a one experience in the past that didn't turn out so great. So the idea that we could make that profit spread on vacant land and not have to worry about issues from a tenant, that was very, very attractive.
Yep.
So we, after those first couple of deals, we saw the potential of really being able to make a business out of it, and kind of scale it in a way that would make sense for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, with that deal, we found out how easy it was in comparison to residential wholesaling. And at that time, I wasn't working with someone that was my boots on the ground, so to speak, when doing residential wholesaling. So both my wife and I, we were working full-time jobs, and
Wow.
I was going out meeting sellers during my lunch break.
Wow.
And some of my lunch breaks, they were, I don't know if I want to admit this here, but they were a little long. They were maybe an hour and a half, hour and 25 minutes trying to get a deal under contract.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I did that residential, when I did the land wholesale to the builder, it was so much easier. And then, once I got into educating myself and we actually start sending letters out on, for to buy land to sell, we found out that business model is a lot easier. We can do it virtually. We have Google Maps. We don't necessarily have to go out there and meet the owners. And that was the real critical, pivotal moment, and the reason why we decided to, kind of pivot away from residential wholesaling into doing land flipping.
So tell us the story on this deal that we just funded and closed on with you guys. I don't know any of the details on this. Do you?
Right.
Whoever wants to go.
I'll let Jermaine go. This is awesome.
Okay. All right, great. So I actually found this deal, Stephen, when last year. So this was a mailer that we did, I would say sometime in August of September of last year. The owner reached out to us and said, "Hey, I got your letter. I'm interested in selling. I think my offer was like $7,900." And he said, "Can you come up to 10,000?" And at the time, we didn't want to allocate that much capital to it, because that was around the same time, the end of last year, we were on the verge of closing on our first self-storage facility.
Oh.
And so we needed that access capital to be able to fund that deal. So I was like, I don't, and then we had all these other land deals that we were doing too. And I said, well, let me hold off on it. But I built up a rapport with them. I said, hey, give me to the end of the year, and then I'll touch base with you and see what we can do. I said, give me to the November, December period, and I'll touch base and see what we can do. And so November, December came. That's when Land Academy, you guys start promoting partnering on deals. And as soon as I saw that, I said, we gotta reach out. We gotta send this deal to Jill and then see if they'll be willing to fund it, because that was another way for us to scale our business too as well. So I knew it was a good deal. I just didn't want to allocate those funds to the deal with, exactly. So sent the information over to Land Academy, and I guess it, through Jill's analysis, I guess the deal worked out. I knew that we can probably sell it. If we held on to it, I knew we could probably sell it, within 60 to 90 days, 30 to 35,000. But I said, I think this is a deal that I can sell within 45 days and at least get 25,000. We end up getting 25.5 within that 45-day period. But yeah, so that was how the deal, pretty much the journey of that deal was, the guy reached out to us. We got it under contract, and then reached out to you guys to help fund it. It got funded. We sold it, and so it was pretty much picture perfect, type of deal.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to touch on the marketing a little bit, as soon as we got that deal funded, we moved quickly to post it literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And for this one, we don't always do this, but for this one, we did use an agent, a real estate agent in the area who's familiar with land value. And of course, he teased us by saying he already had a potential buyer in mind. So we're like, okay, well, let's go ahead and list with him as well. And actually, we think we did get our value out of the agent, because the person who ended up buying the property was someone who did want to physically see the property. So
with an agent.
So our agent met them out there and, showed them the property, had staked the property. And so we think that did help in us being able to sell that property quickly to that buyer.
And that was actually a Facebook lead that came in.
Wow.
A guy reached out to us through Facebook, because my wife and her marketing transaction department we post everywhere. We also post on Facebook, and he reached out to us. And it's funny because you never know the buyers who are going to close on properties. I mean, the buyers who I think are going to close, they don't close. And then the buyers who end up closing, I'm like, okay, they're just wasting my time. But
Exactly.
the guy reached out to us on Facebook and he was like, how much would you take? Would you take this? I think it was like 27,000. I said, yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. I'll take it. And then he said, okay, well, let me talk to my wife and we're going to go out there and look at the property.
Right.
2 days later, he says, hey, my wife to see it. I said, okay. All right, well, let me set up with my agent. She can meet him out there. She met him out there. I didn't hear from him. And then 5 days, I think like a week later, the husband reached out to me through Facebook. He just texted me, where can I send a check? And I'm like, nice. Those are the kind of deals that you like. So he said, where can I send a check? So we got the paperwork ready and sent them the paperwork to get everything signed. And that's how the deal closed.
So you guys did every single thing right, because they had a sense of urgency to close on the deal because they probably believed that you didn't realize what you had.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's exactly how we want this to always go.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the reason that was possible is because you bought it for so cheap.
Well, and they
Exactly.
marketed it and did everything right.
Yeah.
You know, and not just put it in one place.
Right.
You know, you're out there working all different things. So that's how you do it.
Yep. And
So-
even our realtor, he called me just a couple weeks ago, or was it a week and a half ago, and about another deal. And he said, man, how did you get that property so cheap? And how did you sell it so fast?
Did you tell them the truth?
I did. I told him what we do. And he kind of knows what we do. He works with a lot of wholesalers, but so I did, kind of give some of our trade secrets, but he's probably not going to follow it. But I did tell him, pretty much how we were able to get the property at the price that we were able to get it at. And I did tell him the story. The seller was motivated. The seller moved back to Michigan because of a job transfer. And so he bought that property at the peak back in 2007, 2006-ish, and he decided to just let it go. I think on the tax records, he bought it for like almost 40,000 back then. So, yep.
Yeah.
I never heard the sentence "move back to Michigan" before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of job
usually
transfer
moving
was
from Michigan to warmer climates.
that? Yeah. That's really wild.
Yeah.
So you guys have done 80 deals, and so what's the next 12 months look like for you?
Wow, that's a good question. So the next 12 months, we really have buckled down into scaling our business for 2019. And we're looking to do more partnerships. And so
Send more my way.
exactly. Yeah, we will. We actually, there's a few deals that are coming our way, that we actually have in the pipeline now. But the next 12 months is really scaling our business, and doing more partnerships with friends, family, and Land Academy too as well. Because the previous 80 transactions, my wife and I, we've been closing on our deals and selling them ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But at some point in time, you do run out of money, because and then there's some deals that come in and you just can't close on them because you don't have the cash flow or the cash to be able to close on them. So we actually just did our first investor deal opportunity campaign this morning. So we had 3 deals on the contract. We actually closed on 2. We're about to close on the 3rd one, but we sent out an investment opportunity deal sheet to our friends and family that we've kind of built a relationship over time and told them what we do. And we just got all of them funded just right before the call.
That's fantastic.
Wow.
Yep.
That leads me to my next question. So you're an industrial engineer, so your middle name must be try to make things more efficient, right?
Pretty much.
But he's
I
very
try to do that in my personal life, but it doesn't go that well sometimes. But yes.
Well, I appreciate, because there are times when, like, some days Jermaine will notice, like, Faith, you just look extra busy today. And it's because usually I'm not delegating like I should be. And so I appreciate the fact that he can spot inefficiencies, with my work at least.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was recorded, by the way.
With her work, it's easier than being more efficient at my work. So
Got it.
But yeah,
know-
that's definitely what we try to implement in our business to be more efficient. Yeah.
I got to ask, what's been your experience working together? How many
It-
days? You know how it is. There's days it's great. There's days you're like, what have I done? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I guess that's more me because being together being together 24
All the
hours
time.
now,
Yeah.
so we're always together, but we do take time to kind of give each other space every now and then. My wife probably gives me more space than I give her. 'Cause I'm the joker, so I like to kind of mess
Cool.
with her and tease her a lot. So, but we definitely try to give each other some space. And what we've learned too is how to really designate each other roles. That has really helped in the evolution of our business and our partnership together.
And then also too, we have a pretty set schedule that we try to stick to. So we have certain meetings that we try to stick to every week to make sure that we're hitting on certain things that we need to talk about. So we have a finance meeting, we have a systems meeting. I think those are the two main ones.
And then we got our land strategy.
And
meeting.
land strategy meeting.
Great.
So we have these meetings weekly to make sure that we're on the same page. Now, I noticed that if we, for some reason, don't have a meeting, then we could start to go off the rails, So we found that it's very important for us to have those weekly touch base meetings to make sure we're on the same page, definitely.
That's excellent.
I mean, you guys nailed it. It's
Yeah.
separate and conquer, and then schedule everything out. Those
Yeah.
are the two things,
Yep.
two major things. That's the reason that any of this is possible.
Yeah. And you have to trust each other. When you let go and you put the other person in charge, you have to just walk away, know they're going to take care of it, and not get involved and do what you're supposed to do. And that's awesome.
Right.
That is so true.
Stay in
Jill.
your lane.
That is so
yes.
true because that's so true because we actually struggled with that at the beginning, because when the business first was birthed, it was pretty much me that started the residential wholesaling, and so Faith did not come in until
he closed on the first deal.
Yes.
I saw there was potential. So that's when I said, hey, what do you need help with?
So I had to close on the first deal before she got on board. And so I was so used to doing everything. And so when my wife came on board, it was a little tough for me to kind of let go of the reins, and even though I kind of we agreed on the title that she would take over marketing and transactions, but since I was so used to doing it, it was kind of hard for me to let go. But that was a learning experience for us, and we had to sit down and really talk about, okay, and I really had to trust her taking the reins over for that department. And when she's taken over the reins, that's when our business really started to grow, and our land business really started to grow.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Faith, did you ever have any doubts going into this? I mean, you mentioned waiting for that first deal. Did you just really want to see how it would play out, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I had doubts when I guess I had doubts at two distinct points. I guess first when he started residential wholesaling and was sitting at the table with a yellow legal pad and red pens writing, "Hi, I'm interested in buying your house." And I was like, this doesn't look professional. I don't know what he's doing. I don't see this working. And so I think we had a conversation. I said, Jermaine, we can give it 6 months, but if you don't close on a deal, we might want to look at another strategy. And so he did beat that 6 months time frame. But then I remember the second point I had big doubts was when Jermaine came to me and said, hey, I discovered land. We can flip with land, and we can make cash flow from land by selling finance notes. And I was like, land, I guess when I had thought about land, I thought of people who basically land bank, and I just didn't understand the concept of being able to make quick flips or quick cash off of land. So again, Jermaine was really passionate about this. He was sure about it, and so I just kind of watched and with him watched the CDs that came in from Land Academy, and then I was convinced that it could work. So
And here you
But
are.
yes, definitely there have been doubts, but certainly I've jumped on board full throttle now because I've seen the results. So
Yeah. So
And now she
good.
pushes me. She pushes me to do bigger deals in land. So I'm more of the
Add a
conservative type.
zero?
Adding a zero, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Faith is she's more of a risk taker. I'm
That's-
more conservative, but now she's pushing the business to really, grow and to do bigger and more deals. So
That's
I mean,
awesome.
this is almost exactly on a different time frame, but almost exactly the roles and what happened with Jill and I.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that fun? There's a reason why I took over the deal funding and he's doing some of the other
Yeah.
things.
Uh,
I get the rush out of it, and I'm not afraid, and I love it.
I'm way more
Yeah.
conservative now in the deals that we choose to do and don't do.
Yeah.
You know,
That makes
we're at
sense.
a point now where it's a slam dunk if we do it. Like I remember approving the deals that deal that you sent to us. I personally was still involved in it back then
Yep.
because we were just launched it.
Yep.
And I remember green lighting that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a great deal. It was
Yeah.
a great deal for the person who bought it. It was a great deal for all of us.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
Absolutely.
was.
Yeah.
There's probably still $10,000-$15,000 of equity in the deal for the person
For
who
him?
bought it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
definitely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's so good. So what's happening? So what's new this year? I mean, if you don't mind sharing what goals you guys have, what's coming?
So what's new this year? Yeah. As I mentioned, go ahead.
Well, on the land side, I guess one major goal we had is to try to continue to push ourselves to build up our cash reserves in our business. And so we really are trying to do higher volume of deals.
Cool.
And that's one of the reasons why we partnered with you all, and definitely looking to do more partnerships, because we know that's one way to continue to grow and be able to scale. And just looking ahead, we don't know what the economy is going to be doing, so we want to make sure we're on sure footing. Since Jermaine and I are in this full time, we don't have W-2 income, so we want to ensure that we have a solid foundation there.
Yeah.
And then I guess we're on the other half of our business with self-storage.
Yeah, self-storage. So that's going to be a continued journey for us. It's going to be self-storage. And so really, we're kind of breaking down the three main buckets within our business. It's going to be land flipping, seller financing notes. We're still going to keep a portfolio of seller financing notes. And really, the seller financing notes, we're using that as pretty much our income that we take from the business. And so then we use the land flipping cash and then convert that cash into buying long-term assets that have better tax depreciation. And that's, self-storage. We love the self-storage. We looked at apartments too as well to invest in single family homes, but we really love the self-storage business because it's very similar to when we seller finance our land. We don't get calls about, tenants and their things. So we're going to continue to divert that land flipping cash into long-term investments into self-storage, and then continue to build up our note portfolio, and then using that note portfolio to kind of help fund our lifestyle and our expenses.
That's awesome.
So you guys are in the what I call the institutional phase
Yeah.
of your company. And I think it's doesn't matter, step 3 or step 4. You're all past the fact that it works. It's all proven. The proof of concept's done. You pretty much have the systems in place, but probably not the systems that you really want. So you're institutionalizing the whole thing. And then there's only one step after that, which is just bring it on home.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and
that sounds about right.
You're young enough so that this phase, I would say take your time, because I'm a little bit older than you. I'd say take your time, take a decade, maybe more, and then bring it on home. Really get all the systems in place, and you guys are way ahead of everybody, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Some days it feels like day one.
And this business, it is a roller coaster, boy. So yeah, some days it does feel like we're just starting.
Isn't that funny? Now and then things are like, well, I've never had that before. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
But that keeps it fun.
Yeah.
I'm never bored, right? You're never bored.
Jill here's an example of stuff that changes all the time. Jill just got off the phone with one of her, a friend from high school. who's just got out of a meeting where they're trying to redesign the MLS.
Yep.
Like pretty high level stuff. Do you want to?
Wow.
Really, what's funny is we were just chatting recently back and forth, and he's like, he said, I just looked up your website, and you're not going to believe where I used to work. He was at CoreLogic when they were a startup, and I can't remember the name of it, but he was the first project manager of the original company. I can't remember the name of it. It's on his LinkedIn, and then it became CoreLogic. And so he said, I watched it go from, a small little office shared space to this high-rise building. I'm like, what the heck? And now he's working on all these other big things, and he is working with a company right now on ways to replace the MLS. I'm like, okay, we're going to talk. Yeah. So really good. And actually, it was him who said, I need to do some homework. And he's like, I may have some questions for you. I got this meeting to go to. I might hit you up. I'm like, heck yeah. So we'll talk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. But who knew? Look where we all are now and what we're all able to do and what we're working on. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So
It is.
it's great. Now there's nothing. Don't you feel like now too, like there's nothing you can't do? You figured this out, man.
Yeah. That's exactly my point. They're institutionalizing it now.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, it's easy to have confidence when you see that you all have already paved a path for how to get there, so it's like, hey, we can see that Steve and Jill can do it. We can do it too, so, there really is something to that, to see folks who are further along than you. So it gives you something to shoot for.
No, that's absolutely right. When you see people and when you hear people, you guys have the Finance Fridays with Justin Sylvia, and then Luke Smith, we've been kind of following him for a few years now on landinvestors.com. And you just see the amazing things that they're doing. It's like you look at each other, and Faith and I would look at each other and we're like, yeah, we can do this too. Nice. If they can do it, we can do it. Yeah. So yeah, it does give you that level of confidence to tackle the world almost.
You guys are putting your own twist on it too. You guys are at a different part of the country than most of the people, I can tell you for sure. Most of the people in our group are doing it anyway. And you're coming at it from a legal background and from actually a really specialized type of engineering background. So I'm sure you're putting your own kind of twist on it, which is great.
Yeah, we are. We're definitely utilizing our strengths to really, make the business more efficient and put in processes and systems and to continue to help grow the business. So that definitely has helped us, I would say, in our journey is our background, to tell you the truth. So.
Yeah. Can I ask one last question?
Of course, yeah.
What parting advice would you give to someone, rewind 4 years, who's thinking about doing this? What would you tell them?
Ooh, you got one? I got one.
You can start it.
Okay. One thing that I've noticed, Jill, as when we go to these, RIA meetings and these boot camps, and we meet people out there in the residential space, and just in general, just real estate invested in general, or people who are trying to get into the business. One thing that I've noticed is the fear that people have of taking action.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I've noticed that really separates people from really being successful in the business and really taking that step forward, is just taking action. So that would be the advice that I would give. And that's the advice that I do give to people when I'm out there and in those meetings. Hey, don't be afraid, take action. And the one thing that I like about the land business is that you can take the action with very little risk in comparison to other real estate models.
You said it.
So, and that's, one thing that I actually try to push people to say, hey, have you ever tried land investing? You can buy a piece of property from, we bought them as less than $150, so you can get in buying land, $150 to $2,000. Even if you do everything wrong, you still own the land, and then you're only out $150 to $2,000. When you compare that to a residential, type of an investment, the risk are a lot greater. So taking action is one of the main things that I see that people kind of get themselves in the rut and don't really do, and that hinders them from really being successful in the business. So
yeah, I definitely agree with that. And the advice that I would give that touches on that a little bit is to, if this is something you really want to do, to don't be scared and just focus on the next step.
Yeah.
You know, I'm one who sometimes I like to try to plan way out, and then I start worrying, and then, you know, I don't take action because I'm, you know, way ahead of myself. But if you just focus on doing the first thing you need to do, and then once you do that, okay, now move to the next step. And then move to the next step. Then you won't get so, at least for me, then I don't get so overwhelmed. And then, you know, when I'm on step 10, I look back and I say, hey, actually, I completed a transaction, you know. So so that would be my advice, to just focus on one step at a time, to try to limit that fear that you may feel.
Yep, that's perfect. Taking action and focus. Focus on one, become good at it, and then you can move on to the next.
What's yours, Joe?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what mine would be, don't get hung up on, that's good. When I talk to people, I often have people get hung up on extenuating circumstances that they allow them to get in their way.
Yeah.
You know, so it's all motivational for me as well too. Like you said, Faith, you know, and we're here to lay out the steps. We all know what the steps are, but it's getting from A to B to C to D. And some people spend too much on A, and now they didn't make it to B, and then they're mad on themselves that they spend too much on A, and they spend more time on A, and they can't just get out of their own little funk, and then something happens in life, and then they've done nothing. So you've got to just, you know, and that has to come from us. You know, it really has to come from you. I talked to a guy the other day about it, and I said something about, you know, having a sit down talk with himself, and he said, yeah, you know what, Jill, that's why I'm here talking with you right now. He was a member that let life get in the way. He was very honest in sharing that. And he scheduled a consulting call with me because he was coming back. And he's like, you know what? I sat myself down. I gave myself that talk. I am not going to let myself back, you know, stop. And he just wanted to talk to me for a little less cheerleading. And here he comes.
Great.
What's yours?
Great.
I mean, mine comes from a much more old man driven, you know, non-positive place.
Oh. Is it people should suffer?
No.
He tells like the kids. He tells the kids that the kids should suffer. Didn't way to learn to pick yourself back up in a good way.
I can say this without exception. Everybody that I've met, and we've met a lot of people, including you guys, who have been involved in this group since we started in 2015. They have all succeeded at whatever they were trying before they got to us.
Oh yeah.
You guys obviously went to college, a lot of college. You obviously succeeded at what you were doing. So, and if you learned for whatever reason that you didn't want to do it for the rest of your life, but you didn't say, you know, oh, I suck at this, I want to go try this.
Yeah.
It's the people that don't do well in this they're not coming to us already having succeeded at something. They're looking to us to like save, or this program to save the situation. And you know, and that's just, I don't see, that's a sign of other stuff going on.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very true.
Wow, how negative is that?
You know what? Oh, hold on a moment.
No, there's a lot of truth to that.
No, you're very realistic, and that's why actually we're a good yin and yang. Because you know what, the way I look at it one way, and you look at it another way, and it's all good. I'm California. You're
right.
I'm a little bit country. You're a little bit rock and roll. Just kidding.
It's nothing wrong with different perspectives.
You got my reference there?
Yeah, Donnie and Maria.
Yeah.
I hope these guys are too young for that.
You know who that is, do you?
Yes, yes.
Oh gosh.
No, we know who they are.
Okay. Don't know where I got that.
He was on Dancing with the Stars, wasn't he, a few years ago?
He won Dancing with the Stars.
He won.
Right?
And he won over the person I was rooting for, Maya.
Oh. And he's way older than we are, by the way. I'd like to point that out as well.
Yeah.
So
well, you've done it again. You spent another probably 30 minutes now listening to the Land Academy show. Join us next time for an episode called Start to Finish, Land Deal Reviewed.
Ooh, and we answer your questions. Post it on our online community, landinvestors.com. It's free.
You are not alone in your real estate ambition.
Okay.
Jermaine, I remember. Go ahead, Joe.
So this is the after show. Now,
Okay.
Jermaine, I really remember doing a consulting call with you guys. I think maybe both of you, right?
Yeah.
You did. It was
Were we in Charlottesville?
we were in Richmond because I was I think I was
We were
at
in the
Chick-fil-A.
car.
Yeah, it was in the car because Faith
Oh,
was you was in Charlottesville. I was in
I
Richmond.
remember it's in the car.
It was on our lunch break.
Something else we were doing on a lunch break.
Yeah, it was like 2-3 years ago, Stephen.
Wow.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago.
That's
Wasn't last year.
That's
2-3 years ago.
awesome.
Did I say anything worthwhile?
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We walked away like feeling. It was like we walked away on a high. We were like, we got this. You know, we were really excited. Yeah, it was really, really good. It really, yeah.
Yeah, last week actually, I was just bringing up. I was like, man, I wonder if Stephen and Jill still do the consulting calls, because now it's like we've gotten past the point. I'm not saying we're true experts, but we've done quite a few deals. So now it's really about, okay, moving on to the next level. How do you really grow the business?
Right.
And building a team. And so those are some of the things that we're like, okay, I think if they're still doing consulting calls, I think it would be good to kind of reach out to them to get some consulting on those things. Those are some of the things that we're finding as challenging, the next challenge for us in our business growth.
Well, I have an idea. Let's do a consulting call in this format on that topic, and then you don't have to pay.
Ooh.
All right.
Oh. That's good. Okay, so I'll have my team schedule another podcast session, basically. It'll be a consulting where we talk about this.
That sounds great.
Growing your team. I love it. Okay, done.
Well, if you guys are up, are you up for it?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, because I think a lot of people get a lot out of
That's
that.
what I think.
So
Plus, it's more fun, a little bit more
totally.
formal to get the horse around.
Totally.
Yeah. It seems like that's what you guys like doing. I like it because
yes.
Like I said, I mess with my wife all the time. So
yes. Yeah, it's awful. He's like, "Can we go now? Can we go now? Can we go now?" I'm like, I can't say no. I'm like, heck yeah, this can wait. Yeah, let's go.
Tail off like this, you gotta go have fun.
You do.
Exactly, you do.
Wherever you're watching, wherever you are listening, please rate us there. We are Steve and Jill.
Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.